Okay. Hello, everybody. We are Geeks Assembled. It's Fifth Doctor week on the channel, so let's go underground as we explore the season 21 story Frontios. Who should we start with this week? Let's start with Ethan. What do you think of Frontios?
Me first. No, no. I actually really enjoyed this one. Actually, I don't think I've actually ever seen this one completely. I did recognize the name. Yeah, I know. At least don't die on us, Lee. Don't die on us. But I've seen all the other episodes of this season, and arguably this is what is Peter Davison's last season as the Fifth Doctor. For me, is his best season because, and it's definitely my favorite season with him. I mean, the stories in this one are phenomenal because you got Warriors of it was more darker and to a degree grounded and grittier, and you've got Warriors of the Deep, and what was the Dalek one? Resurrection of the Daleks, and the legendary Planet of Fire, which is probably no surprise why that's one of my favorites. But then you've got this one. And the Caves of Androzani, which I love that one. I think that one's great. I know there's the Twin Dilemma, but the rest of it is brilliant. It's so great. But yeah, I actually really liked this one. It was a really quite a pun intended grounded story where it is like you got these great aliens led by Gravis, or the Gravis, and they land on this planet called Frontios, and it is like we've had many stories like this where they find a colony of the last humans, or what like some of these remaining humans in the far future, who have gone off onto this planet, and they've been there for years, and they're being attacked by meteorites, which is the Gravis, and they want to turn their planet into a giant spaceship and go across the galaxy and conquer and bring about fear. It was quite funny because there was a couple bits in it that reminded me of two other episodes. There was vibes of The Doctor's Daughter, like similar, like how they've been like battling this war and stuff like that for years, even though it's a bit different. But there was some similarities, and there was a scene where you see what happened to Plantagenet's dad, the captain, turned into, when he came on that thing and his corpse, I instantly thought of what is it? Is it the Voyage of Doom?
Max Capricorn in Voyage of the
Yeah,
Damned.
that instantly I thought of that. I actually thought Max Capricorn of the Titanic, who came in a similar sort of thing, didn't he? And I was thinking, oh, I wonder if they got some ideas from this story, but worked it around a bit, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and did a different story. But you've got these great aliens. You've got some great new music, and it was great because I loved a lot of the flute and stuff. Great performance from Peter Davison. And as I said, this season, I think he gives his best performance. And it's almost like I love Tegan in this season anyway, because this episode, it almost gives vibes of the hell that's coming next as it ends. You know, they're being pulled by a certain someone, which is the Daleks and Davros. And, you know, in a way, when you know the whole story, it is like the horrors that Tegan's about to witness. You know, she's witnessing the worst of the galaxy. So, but you've got great performances from Jeff Roll, a very young Jeff Roll. It took me a while to work it out until I saw the cast, and I was like, bloody hell, Jeff Roll. Because I'm used to seeing him with grey hair and stuff and a bit older, but my God, he's very young in it. But yeah, and you've got Turlog as well in this, who I thought was all right. Gets a bit over the top, didn't he, at some points and stuff. But I'll go into that later. But I thought I enjoyed this one. It was decent, and it sets up, what's to come from Davros, the Master, and the Caves of Androzani. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good episode.
Thank you, Ethan. Right, let's go over to Susan. What do you think of Frontios?
Well, like Ethan was saying, I had shades of other stories. There was the shades of the Web Planet. There were the shades because of the insectoid creatures, the tractators could have been, some sort of relatives of the Menoptera or the, oh, what's the other one called? Anyway,
Zarbi.
the Zarbi. Yeah, so that that was interesting. I thought that the story was it was it was pretty simple, and there was a lot of there's a lot of politics involved, and Plantagenet. I mean, as the ruler of this spaceship of this world, here, one of the first rulers of England was named Plantagenet. Anyway, that was pretty interesting. And the meteorites that were falling seemed like a red herring for the whole story. That yes, there was something to do with gravity, but I don't know. Yeah. So interesting, and again, Tegan was super 80s action hero in her short skirt, her super primary colored shirt, and her skinny boots and stuff. And Turlo actually went into a place of really being vulnerable in this, which was interesting and different for his character. But I'll talk more about those things later. Back over to you, Jake.
Cheers, Susan. Right, over to Texas. Tim, did you enjoy Frontios?
Not too much. I've always thought this is one of the lesser stories of the series. It's not horrible, and it's not great. It's just one of those kind of there ones that, if anything, it's well directed and pretty well acted. They got a pretty good cast on there, but I think the story itself just doesn't do much for me. I think that it's probably it's just one of those middling episodes. It's not like I said, it's not bad, but it's not really that great either. It's just kind of there. And I don't really have much more to say about it, except that there's some interesting moments. There's some interesting things that happen. And I think Ethan was right. It does kind of point the way ahead towards what's coming later in this very busy series, because this is a very busy one. I mean, three stories later, you've got a brand new cast completely. I mean, there's a whole lot of coming and going at this point. But overall, I mean, it's just one of those also stories. It's not, like I said, I don't dislike it, but I've never really thought much of it.
Thank you, Tim. Right then, over to our very own Gravis. Lee, what do you think of Frontios?
It's as it's been said about Davison's last season. It is his best season. I think they all went out and thought, right, we'll write some damn good stories, and they brought back Christopher H. Bidmead for this one, who saw out Tom Baker and the incoming Fifth Doctor back then with Castrovalva. This one was sort of a cast production. The designer on the production committed suicide. Peter Arne, the actor, was murdered a few days before a costume fitting. He was due to play Mr. Range. There was a bit of a case on this one. So, but they did get another actor to play Mr. Range at last minute. I like this one. It's as I say, it's studio bound, and what they did with the studio was quite good. To be honest, the sets were brilliant. I mean, they even hired dancers to play the tractators without it realizing the design of the costume. You couldn't move in them. As soon as because it was apparently it was a one-piece suit over the head down to the, and all they could do was that. But if they had more, if they thought about it with the costumes, had more flexibility with the costumes, just think what they could have done. You know, they've been brilliant. But I still like the tractators. I think they're a brilliant creation. Yeah, Tegan is Tegan. I love Tegan. I like Taylor as well. I think he's a brilliant character, companion. A lot of people don't like him, but I do. But, my only gripe with Taylor is he wanted to get away from that school in Mordred Undead. He wanted to get away from that school. He wanted to leave the planet. Why does he still wear the school uniform? Go to the wardroom, change, get out the school uniform, put something else on. But apart from, and of course you've got Peter Davison, and I got to say his performance in his last season, he nailed it. Everyone he nailed it, because first 2 seasons I was like that with him. I think I was slim mourning for the 4th Doctor first season. I tried to like him the second season. I was still like that, but his last season, he's got it bang on. And then you think, oh, he's leaving. Just think if they'd have said, yeah, just stay for another season. He could have had another awesome season. I mean, just imagine Twin Dilemma.
He should have. To be fair, J&T was more interested in the attention the show was going to get from changing actors again than talking him into staying on. And why they kicked him out a story early for this series is ridiculous. They never should have done that.
Yeah, I mean, also Peter Davison listened to Patrick Troughton's advice. Only do 3 years.
But he complained though that he didn't like being bogged down with so many companions, and he wanted to be just like him and a girl. And sure enough, as soon as they gave him just one girl, then they kicked him out. It's like, really?
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, Twin Dilemma with Davison. I think it would have been a totally different story. I like Frontios because you've also said about Jeff Roll in this, but you've also got what's his name from the Unedin Land, Peter Gilmore. Is it Gilmore? Who used to play? Who was in the original Eden Land? I think. Yeah, Peter Gilmore. He was a really well-known actor at the time, who played. Is it Brazen? Also, if they'd have gone the way it should have gone, the excavating machine with the it was driven by corpses from the mental power of the corpses. I've seen a still where the side panel of the machine is off and there's bodies inside the thing. Like and I think, okay, yeah, it's supposed to be a kids program, but I think that'd have been a lot better if they'd left that in.
Wow.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's what I loved about this season, because it was going a darker route. And
it was.
I love the whole darker idea.
It is. I mean, I like it when it gets a little gritty and darker, and it suited Davison's characterization of the Doctor, and also as well, you got his glasses back again, his spectacles. I liked it when he used to wear his spectacles. I'm easily pleased. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's one of my favourites from the last season. Over to you, Jake.
Thank you, Lee. It's very information you shared about the actor being murdered. I never knew that. Frontios with me is my favourite Davison story of all time. And it's the only story in season 21 I actually like. I've never liked any of the other episodes in season 21. But I do agree with everyone and say Davison was at his best in that season. But I just love Frontios. I think it goes from 0 to 100 when those corpse-driven excavators come in. It's like, oh my God, that must have scared the crap out of so many kids. And like Ethan said earlier, when the first one rolled up, I was expecting him to go, my name is Max, and have a gold tooth at chin. But the tractators, I think, were really good monsters. but I think the way the costume was, having seen it in person as well, let it down a lot. Because, like Lee said, it is actually just one piece. It was too heavy to move in. It should have been thought out much more better than what it was, and I think it would have made it more threatening if they moved a little bit less like they've got a stick up their ass sort of thing. But I love De Gravis. How scary does De Gravis look? I didn't really remember first time watching it, but rewatching it, I was like, he actually looks pretty scary compared to other Doctor Who villains we've had. He's very scary, all teeth, those eyes, and the nose.
It
And
is
the
the
other one,
face. It's that weird sort of almost humanoid face.
the other ones, I think, look a little bit silly and look a little bit like fish with their faces. They look a bit like giant goldfish. But yeah, I find it very hard to thought this story. The only thing I don't like about this story, and I'm sure Lee and Susan will know what I'll say because of the review we did on Luke Scaroo, is Turlo. I cannot stand Turlo, and I think he affects every story he's in except this one. I found him bearable in this story, but I think the reason I don't like season 21 so much is because I think Turlo ruins it for me. That's that. And Tegan, I love Tegan. I'd have loved it if it was just Davison and Tegan on their own for his last season, to be honest, and have Perry join on at the end. But yeah, that's my opening thoughts, really. So let's go over to our favourite moments. Let's start off with Lee. Your favourite moments, please.
Thank you. Just as I took a drink.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I said the excavating machine. Yeah, it's been mentioned. That scene is brilliant. The realization of that the TARDIS has been destroyed. I mean, we all know it can't be destroyed, but JNT was good at this sort of thing. Put it in the papers. We're going to destroy the TARDIS. You'll get people up in uproar, and after the first episode, the TARDIS has been destroyed. Whoa, he was doing it all the time. We're gonna get rid of the police box. That's what he was. He was to and fro. He was messing with the media. What else did I like? I just like the characterizations in this. Leslie Dunlop as well in this was brilliant as Mr. Range's daughter. I mean, she later returned in the Happiness Patrol, but she said that the acting in this is brilliant. It's just dark and gritty, and that's what I like. It's a dark story. As I said, the voice of the Gravis is brilliant as well. John Gillett, I think his name was. Yeah, brilliant story for me. And say Davison, I don't often say it, but I do like Davison in this because he was one of my least favourite Doctors of the classics. But as I say, big thumbs up in this one for me. So, and also, I did notice the guards' helmets, with the green band around the top. They were second-hand helmets from Blake 7. Who knew? The Federation got that far out into space.
A crossover waiting to happen.
Well, yeah. Well, Blake 7 stopped in 81, so they could have used them. They was in a cupboard somewhere. Anyway, back to you, Jake.
Thank you very much. Let's go over to Tim. What are your favourite moments?
Well, one of the things I did like is Turlo is this. He has this sudden realization, and so it's almost like he's got a hidden race memory inside his head. He sees something and it triggers it, and he ends up basically having a bit of a fit. Not sure why he played it so drooly. I mean, I thought that was pretty gross, but I mean, the idea though of that you have a secret implanted in your head and something triggers it. I think that's a brilliant idea. Even though basically it's a way for the writer just to move the story along and explain what's actually going on, because they're in episode 3 at that point, I believe. And but what I also liked about them doing that was they gave Turlo some much needed development as a character, because he's about to leave the show in about 2 stories, and he's just pretty much been this mystery man whose first job was to kill the Doctor. And so he's on kind of a road to redemption, because I don't think the Doctor ever trusts him as much as he would, say, Tegan, for example. And Tegan definitely doesn't trust him. She's always like keeping her eye on him. Like, she doesn't know what he's going to do. And so I thought this was a brilliant idea to give him a little bit of backstory on his way out of the series, because he's, like I said, he's leaving pretty soon, and suddenly he knows something. And also just the way they did it, it's like, you could say it's lazy writing, but on the other hand, they did it. It was an interesting thing to do, to give him, all of a sudden he knows what's going on because he's seen it happen before, and so he's able to explain it once he gets over his drool. But yeah, that was probably the best thing about the story, in my opinion. I don't hate Turlo. Like, I think he was an interesting character that they didn't know what to do with once he stopped trying to kill the Doctor. And see, so for example, in something like the Five Doctors, you've got too many companions wandering around, so he's got nothing to do but go make tea with Susan. And that's just kind of like, that's kind of useless. But for the most part, he's an interesting character, I think.
Thank you, Tim. Right, over to Susan. Your favourite moments, please.
Right, my favorite moments are Turlo being vulnerable. When he was experiencing that race memory, that was Turlo actually with his guard down and his psychic defenses on hiatus. I mean, here he was wielding the hat stand as a weapon, and then he sits down and he just goes inward, and that's just that was, you never saw that in Turlo. You don't hear it in the audios. You don't see it in the TV. It's challenging for Mark Strickson to do that and keep the thing going. The other thing that another favorite moment was John Gillett's Gravis. He was this pretty. He had a good voice for that, and even if he wasn't the one in the mask, he did. It was good. It was a good character, and I liked how Tegan and Turlo, and I liked how the people were sort of pulled by those gravity things. That was good. That was great acting, and it was a good gravity beams. It was a good get people moving around the in front of the camera thing. That was fun. And the design on the floor was amazing. I thought that was really something super cool. It was a bit Celtic, or a bit like a labyrinth, and that was amazing. And the other thing that I liked their two spaceships that landed. I think that one of them crashed and the other one went to their aid, the supply ship or whatever. And I also like the science involved. So all of those things were interesting to me. And so those are my favorite moments. Over to you, Jake.
Thank you, Susan. Right, and last but not least, Ethan, what are your favourite moments?
As Lee's already pointed this out, I love the characterizations in this, from Turlo, which, we see a great development with him, and, playing the part of like absolutely losing his mind, remembering something from his home planet and stuff like that. The race memory. I think that was a cracking idea. Brilliant. And he plays it so well. And Tegan, great as always. And I've already said Peter Davison, just nails it in this last series. He's at his best and he's fantastic. And you've even got, like I said, Jeff Rawls as Plantagenet, he's brilliant. Peter Gilmore as Brazen, Leslie Dunlop as Norna, and William Lucas as Range, who I'm about to mention in a minute. They all play the parts great. And the Gravis, every time he was on, that's such a creepy voice. When he first came on, and I think he's talking to Plantagenet, and he's saying like, you will. And they're like, just that threatening, evil voice. Yeah, he's such a great villain. And one bit, speaking of Range, when he gets killed by the extravator, when they're getting out, and he gets caught by this thing, tells them to get out of there. And you don't see him. It obviously goes off. The camera moves, so you can hear him. But you've just got this gruesome idea how he's getting killed by this thing. And it's a gruesome idea, but it's just, again, it's brilliantly dark. And I love it when it gets dark like that. I loved how they beat Gravis. That was good. That was very well done. Like, again, you know, it was a funny idea how the TARDIS is like in different areas and stuff, and it slowly morphs back into place. I have to say, I like, there's a real bit where the Doctor, there's that ball and they're trying to suck him in, and then he starts moving the ball and pushes it into those guys, and they go, oh! Trying to think anything else and stuff, because it is all around a good one. I actually loved how it ended as well. I loved the ending to this one, where they get, unlike a lot of the episodes of that time, it ends on another cliffhanger where it's like they're getting pulled in by something, and he says it's something more powerful. And I liked how this season it becomes one intertwining saga. I love it when they did that. You know, it just, instead of like doing a one-off story and ending it, it actually carries on to the next one. So you're left wondering who's pulling them. And of course, as it becomes an intertwining dark story, big saga. But yeah, I think those are my favorite moments. And I love the settings for it, the way they set it. I love the whole studio look, because they made a great job of it. They really delivered like this believable planet and world, the lighting and everything, and the settings and stuff. I thought it was very well done for that time and stuff. And it just is. I just had a blast watching it. But yeah, those are my favorite moments.
Thank you, Ethan. My favourite moments, I like Susan was saying and everyone else about the TARDIS being destroyed. I loved that cliffhanger because it reminded me of one of my favourite cliffhangers, was when in the Web Planet, the first Doctor is standing there with a TARDIS, where it's like, my ship, where's my ship? That's what it reminded me of. I loved it. But it's quite funny, Ethan triggered a memory of what I found so funny about this story. When he mentioned the Gravis in the TARDIS, he's waving his arms about, he's throwing about. I could not stop laughing. It was so stupid. That's why I think the costume didn't necessarily work with stuff like that. He should have just been like waving his antennae about in like circles like that. But yeah, it is a proper solid, good Davison story to me. I wish we would have seen a bit more of the corpse excavators like Lee mentioned. Funnily enough, I didn't really know about that either. So if you could send me that, Lee, when you find it, that'd be great. Because I'd like to see what it'd be like. Because like Lee, I also am a big fan of dark and gritty stories. And this could have been really gritty with all that pulp stuff. And I wish we got to see it. But alas, BBC snowflakes, they were there back then. And they're sure as hell there now. So
Well,
yeah.
Christopher H. Bidmead wrote The Machine, you know, with the blades on the side. Wrote them as human bones.
Ooh, that'd be good to see.
But then apparently they thought, well, I don't think human bones would cut through rock.
But another interesting fact from Lee's full of them this week. Let's hope he can bring it to the Mark of the Rani cast as well. Right, on that note, since Lee...
So that's really actually better science. See, like I said, this has got lots of science in it.
With all that stuff, though, you can't help but think of it as a Virgin Mist adventure, how graphic it would have been then in book form. But yeah, anything else anyone wants to say before we go to final say and score?
I like the lights, checking of the lights. I love green. I just thought the fluorescent
Feel
green.
free to gift that, people.
No, what I'm saying is, it just added something to the story.
Yeah, I liked it
You
too.
know,
It's a silly
yeah,
little
the greenness of the lighting just added something to it, and it made me laugh. Was the doctor chastised Taylor for shaking it because it's unstable, and what does the doctor do in the next couple of minutes after that? He's shaking it.
Well, thank you for that lovely demonstration, Lee. Right, anything else anyone has got to say? Sorry. No, nothing? Right then. So, it's time for final say and score. Let's start off with Tim. What's your final say and score?
I agree with Lee's point about the lighting. I think this episode was very well directed and very well acted by the cast and the guest cast, and it was pretty well written by Bidmead. But I don't know why the stories never really did anything for me. I never really thought it was that interesting or that good. But I can see the good points of it. But so I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's. I'm not sure how you could have made it better. It's just one of those ones to me that's just always kind of been there and not really that exciting to me. But there you go.
Over to Ethan.
Yeah, I actually thought a solid, decent story. I do like the other ones of this season more, like Warriors of the Deep, Planet of Fire, Resurrection of the Daleks, and those are just, and Caves of Androzani. But this one is still a solid one either way. But so I'm going to give this an 8. Actually, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Well, thank you, Ethan. Over to Susan. Final say and score, please.
Sure. I'll agree with Ethan. It's an 8. It's got some interesting character, and it's got the Tractators are sort of cool insectoid creatures. And even if the costumes were awful, to work in, they were shiny and pretty and little bug things. They were pretty cool. Anyway, so it's an 8, and thanks.
Right. Over to Lee. Final say and score from you.
It's one of my favourites from the season. Yeah, okay, the design of the Tractators should have been thought through. But there again, if you go to Caves of Androzani, I think the cave monster should have been thought through on that one way more than the Tractators. Yeah, to be honest, it's solid story, good acting, really atmospheric, gritty. So it's a 10 from me.
Thank you, Lee. I guess that's my turn in the show today. I'm going to give it a 9. I really do enjoy this one, but I think the Tractator costumes and the way they wave about ruins it a little bit for me, and the fact that I don't like Turbo. But we've already had that rant on this cast today. So anyway, it's a timeless show where I thank all these wonderful people for joining me to review this. The wonderful people at home for watching. If you want to take part, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Geeks Assembled. Like the video, subscribe, and comment below and tell us if you also enjoyed this story. So with that, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Just this green thing. Bye.